get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, and welcome to another double feature. This time it's replays from two different viewers, but they're both replays that have something in common, and they're both replays of scouts, and they're both replays where the scouts are being played as passive scouts. And I don't think you tend to see that many replays of this particular technique, because it's honestly maybe not that interesting to watch, and I'm actually going to be fast forwarding these videos in some parts. But yeah, what is passive scouting? Well, a lot of the time it's getting to a good observation position, usually some soft cover, you know, a bush basically, and just spotting the hell out the enemy team. And if you're in a random battle, this obviously involves hoping like hell that your team is actually going to do something about all this information you're giving them. Doesn't always work out, but when it does, it can completely change the course of a battle. And yeah, this replay is a bit derpy for some reason. I see a lot of time you'll get heavy players or tank destroyer players or whatever will just be pinging them out madly or cussing you out going, "Go scout, noob!" And they just simply don't realise you are scouting. You're just not scouting in a way that they recognise. And I don't tend to play passive scouts myself, or I tend to play in a more active style, but there is something to be said for passive scouting in certain situations on some maps. This map, for instance, we're on steps. This is Negabot, this is a 5916, and he's in a little tank, and there's lots of bushes around. And picking the right bush is obviously important, but if you're in the right bush, you can watch and approach. You can make sure that no one's trying to sneak up a flank, or this is all vital information for a team. So I'm going to fast forward it a little bit here because it's basically Negabot sitting in a bush and he's spotting for the team, but we'll watch what's going on the minimap. So this is obviously encounter mode, and the majority of the team is actually pushing down the 1, 2, 3 lines, and there's some enemies trying to come up the middle. Negabot's spotting some of these people, and you'll notice he's got shots on a few tempting targets here, but he's refraining because obviously that would give his position away, and that would be pretty fatal. So at the moment he's basically making, he's watching this approach, and there's only 2 tanks that are behind him, so it's not like he can spot for his team to do lots of damage. Unfortunately, he's kind of a bit stuck here because he's out in the open, and he's taking a risk to take down this enemy scout. That guy's obviously disappeared, so we don't know. He has to assume he's spotted, but if he stays in cover for long enough, he'll be unspotted. Now, SU-101's not looking at him. I think I might have been tempted to shoot the SU, but it turned out not to matter. Side of an IS-3, doesn't matter, not with this gun. I should note he's using the 85mm, which has rather low penetration. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's not good. And there's that scout again. And oh, there we go. Now they're capping. This is a bit critical. It's 7-10. This is not looking good. And you might be thinking to yourself, in a similar situation, you're in a scout, what can I do? Well, let's slow it down a bit here. He's actually moving to get round behind and hopefully sneak some shots into rear armour. He's also loaded up premium ammo because the regular ammo probably isn't going to cut the mustard. So can I see anyone? Oh, and he's waiting for that aim circle to close. I will note, I don't know what equipment he's using, but I'm going to guess gun lane drive isn't on here because it's taking quite a long time for that to settle. Unfortunately, yeah, IS-2 knows he's there, but there we go. The E25 managed to kill him. VK is the big threat right now. T150 is actually just ignoring him. So, there we go. He's turning, but it's too late. So now we've got a VK who is totally focused on Negabot. And Negabot is in return completely reliant on the E25. Because trying to engage this guy at close quarters, not good. He does make a mistake here. He should have reloaded his clip, and that is incredibly lucky. shot going in your tracks like that. It wouldn't have killed him. I mean, he was full hit points, but even so, having kept those hit points is really useful. So it's now 12-12. This is gonna be a close one, you guys. He has been passive spotting for the majority of the match, but now he's really got to get a shift on. That isn't going to work at all at this point. There's no team to back him up. Basically, there's a tier 6 heavy, well, tier 6 medium, I should say. Even this is still this replay is from patch 8.7, and yeah, the E25, who's clearly not a bad player, but he's in a tier 7, unarmoured tank destroyer. There's a pair of tier 8 heavies left. Negabot once again using his light tank mobility, and this time he's actually, I think he's just trying to get around this guy, maybe lead him a merry dance. Because IS-3 obviously not the slowest heavy tank in the world, but if you can get the IS-3 to try and follow him and come all the way down to the corner, it's one less tank even his teammates need to deal with. Unfortunately, T25 is dead, so it's now 12-13, and it's looking a bit, yeah, this is not there. So he's taken the bait, and I think Negabot is going to go for it, and he does. So making his way cautiously down, doesn't want to track himself at this stage. And there's that enemy scout, and he's down, which is good. Now I'm not quite sure why Negabot's taking this route here. Maybe he's trying to make his way to that road in the middle, because obviously that gives him a terrain advantage. But yeah, if he can get beyond these rocks. Oh, and there's the IS-3. Not only did he take the bait, he drove all the way up to where Negabot actually was. So that bit of misdirection worked perfectly. And yep, luckily that shot completely missed. So there are other IS-3, really low health. VK is also very low health, but if he can stay alive just long enough. This is a clip gun, bear in mind, so the IS-3, the IS-3 hopefully isn't going to see him coming. If he can get around behind this guy and pump a couple of shots in his ass. And, oh, nice slide. And he does. There we go. There's one. There's two. Right. That's 2 kills. That's not bad. He's not done that much damage, mind. But, yeah, the T-150 he killed with 1 health. And that IS-3 was sort of 200 health. But this is why, even if you're in a scout tank, staying alive right till the end, even if the odds look bad, it can actually be pretty useful. You can swing the outcome of a match completely around. And yes, it looked like for the majority of this that Negabot was just sitting doing nothing, and he was passive scouting. No, I think in this particular situation, the fact that he was passive scouting didn't matter greatly to the outcome of the team. It's more the fact that he stayed alive with full hit points right to the very end of the game. So here we go. There's a clip. He's got to reload, but it doesn't matter because the enemy IS-3 burned out. Mwahaha. So there we go. That's how to beat a pair of top tiers when you've got a tier 6 scout and a tier 6 medium. A bit of luck, but also there was some thinking went into that. And like I said, I picked both these replays because they show passive scouting. The passive scouting was much less important to this particular replay, this particular battle. But it shows, I think, that if you get to a good position in time, you can basically light up an entire flank if you're doing it right. So we will take a little moment to look at the score screens because they were okay. Now, 5916 is not the most popular tank ever. In fact, I don't quite know why people use that 85mm gun. Yes, it's an auto loader, and if you're coming across low health enemies, that can be useful. But I think the 57mm is so fast firing that it's basically what the MT25 uses. It's what the T50-2 had. It's a pretty good gun for a light tank. You can hurt tier 8s and tier 9s in the side with that thing. But that said, the Negabot made that 85mm gun work for him pretty well there. So he didn't do much damage. Although actually at the end there, the damage came at the end. He did 1k total. That's actually quite respectable for a scout. Spotting damage was much better. That was nearly 1700 spotting damage, which tier 8 battle, okay, could be better, but it adds up. But the real impact he had on that particular match was staying alive right till the very end. That won the match basically. So yeah, suicide scouting is really a good idea, and this is one of the reasons why. If you just rush off and die at the beginning of a battle, if you're alive at the end of the battle and there's a lot of low health enemies around, well, things could have gone very differently. So, yeah, on the whole, I think that was a pretty okay match. It wasn't amazing, perhaps, but it shows that sometimes just being alive and staying alive till you can be in the right place at the right time is important. So, bearing that in mind, let's go on to the next replay. And here we are for part 2. This time it's in ELC, it's Redshire, which is a bit of a campy map, and it's a tier 10 battle, so it's definitely going to be campy. This has been sent in to me by IO Ether, and he's platooning with one of his clanmates. Oh, I knew the word was in the way around somewhere. Who is Thinking Cashew, which is an interesting username. I quite like that actually. ELC doesn't usually get into tier 10 battles, but the Chaffee does. So because he's platooned with the Chaffee, he is in a potentially ouchy situation. The ELC is a pretty nippy tank, but I think they decided against putting it in with tier 10s because it's not quite nippy enough. Doesn't have the view range, certainly doesn't have the radio range. Unfortunately, this replay is a little bit more jerky than the last one, so I apologise for that. But it's not going to matter for the majority of it because, again, it's going to be a lot of passive scouting. So he's rushing up here to have a little peek, and hello. Those reactions. Yeah, well, this is less bad than it appears because Batchat is he's not going to be loaded right now. He was just going for a little bit of a scout himself. So he's whoops, good thing that didn't do any damage. He's a bit toothless at the moment, and he made his getaway with only taking a bit of damage. But IO managed to get a little bit of that damage in there himself. However, this isn't going to be a match where IO does damage. This is going to be a match where IO gets lots of spotting damage. And you'll see he waited there for a second, so he disappeared off people's radars. Now this is risky. He may be spotted, and oops, yeah, you don't want to do that when you're passive scouting. You don't want to knock over a tree. He's concealed himself very well in this clump of bushes, but I don't know if he has Sixth Sense on his commander. So if he doesn't, this is incredibly risky because he would not know if he was spotted right now. You just have to trust to luck. If on the other hand he does have Sixth Sense, then obviously he knows he's not spotted. But all the same, this is an incredibly bold position to take, but it's actually a pretty safe one because he's covered by bushes from all sides. Someone would have to get into auto spotting range, basically proximity spotting range. He's also not moving. I don't know if he's locked his hull with the whatever key he's got that bound to, but obviously if you move your hull you lose your camo bonus, and he's a light tank, so he's got a good camo bonus. He wants to retain his maximum camo factor. So let's put this on fast forward because it is lots of this, and we'll watch how the rest of the team unfolds. Now, like I said, it's Redshire, and this is going to be kind of a campy match. There's lots of times when IO gets a chance to put a shot into someone, but it would be really fatal to do so. And this is one of these matches where you'll see some of his team later on going, "Stupid light tanks, why aren't you doing anything?" Not even beginning to realise the fact that he is actually passive spotting half the map here, just about. So we know, largely thanks to IO, that there are where the Ag Tiger is, where the 704 and the 183 are. The Batchat was on the hill. We know where the AC was. We know there's a 5100 and a T32 have gone to the northeast corner. And this is all information that's been gathered because IO was there. And this is not something I would have thought to do in my ELC, to be honest, but like I said in the first replay, I don't tend to play passive scouting very much. But maybe I'll learn from this something from this, who knows. I do actually teach a scouting class for SGTA, but it tends, I very much concentrate on active scouting because that's what I know and that's what I'm reasonably good at. But that's not always called for. On some maps, that's a bad idea. On some maps, this is the thing to do. So, look at this. He's just lighting up everybody, basically. Everyone that's moving in the open. We know where the 704 and the 183 are. And, the minute they fire, he's going to spot them. Thinking Cashew is dead, unfortunately. He'd been sort of in the middle, but clearly he got spotted. The Chaffee is actually a tank that's a lot more suited to passive spotting. It's got a very good view range. I think it's got a pretty good radio. It's not very nippy. Oh, this guy's... yeah, this is slightly nerve-wracking. Bear in mind, the proximity spotting range is 50 meters. That guy with a very big gun is 60 meters. He's pretty close. But this is absolutely perfect. This is... He's doing a great job at doing this because this is perfect for his team's artillery. They have no idea he's here. Look at this. They're just sitting there out in the open. Or they're not. I mean, they're not in the open. They're behind terrain as far as the rest of the team are concerned. But that's two very dangerous tier 10 tank destroyers that are now completely out of the way. Well, a tier 10 and a tier 9. I can count. The 183 was clearly not happy because, yeah, this is not a popular map, and this was a very, very campy game, and it's just a lot of matches on this map, particularly at high tiers, are just straight up war. It's straight up a war of attrition, and for a lot of people, that kind of grinding battle is not much fun, especially when it gives you not much to do for a whole lot of a match, depending on the tank type you're in. IO is just being a completely passive observer right now. So he's watching these guys make a push on the T-32. We know there was something back there that maybe isn't now. Oh, yes, still is. Okay, there's the back chat. They successfully dislodge those two and take them out, but unfortunately they take a lot of damage in the process. Yeah, there's that 704. If one of them had stayed up on the ridge, maybe to put one into that 704, but 9-8, I'm not sure it would have mattered. We've got two mediums pressing up the K line. There's a 704 that's behind us. I'm not sure how much damage he's taken or done. The T-71 on our side, I don't think he's moved since he's been in the... I don't know what the T-71's doing. Passive scouting only works if you're, somewhere where you can actually spot things. If you're just sitting, one square away from the cap, you're not really doing much good. So this is looking a bit dicey so far, but there's... okay, T-30's down. T-92, ouch. Yeah, tier 10 artillery. Our tier 10 RT's got... now, I don't know why he moved then. Maybe he was going to make a go for it, but then the Leopard PTA appeared at just the wrong moment or the right moment. Oh, getting close. That was less than 60 meters that time. That was 59 for a second there. Our tier 10 RT's got 3 kills, but unfortunately so's their tier 10 RT. The T92 has got a big ass gun. It's a proper doom cannon, that thing. So they're making a push up this side. T69 is maybe looking to get a shot into their flanks. Fortunately, T69 is not especially well armoured, and he's on open ground right now. So it's probably not going to go, in his favour. We're almost out of time now. 2 minutes remaining, just about. This is Centurion 7-1. They're making a push on the friendly cap. There's really only the 704 left. T-71 is, I don't know, I'm just going to assume AFK because they really haven't moved much at all in this battle. So it's just 704 RT, and I think IO is, yeah, I think he just decides to make a break for their artillery at this point. Now, I did forget to mention when it happened, but one of those tanks, when they were driving past, got within 56 meters. That was very, very close indeed. Especially once you're spotted, you're completely dead. But this is going to be a draw at this point. But IO just wants that one last. Can he get that artillery before the timer ticks away? It's a disappointing result, but I think it probably happens more often on this map just because of the nature of it. And there he is. Oh, oops. Well, yeah. Let's just hope this guy's smart enough to know to back up to try and scrape off IO, for want of a better word. But oh, yeah, don't even parked in front of that gun, and boom, with 3 seconds to spare. So yeah, it's not exactly the curse of Campanovka, but it's the curse of Camper something. Campshire doesn't really work. Anyway, it's a draw. That was incredibly disappointing because IO did incredibly well there as a passive scout. The last match, it didn't really matter, the whole passive scouting segment, but in this match it was all about the passive scouting. So first off, we should note he got patrol duty. That's always nice. He actually spotted 9 tanks. He actually did some damage himself, which is always nice. But look at that spotting damage. 7,555, and that's why he made 72k profit from a draw, and that's why he got the best XP of anyone, because he was basically spotting half the enemy team, more than half the enemy team at various points. He lit up 9 of them, and he just, the rest of the team just was not quite good enough to capitalize on what he was actually doing there. So that is a bit of ideal passive spotting, a bit of ideal passive scouting, but unfortunately, such is the curse of trying to scout in random matches. Sometimes the rest of the team is just not good enough to actually take advantage of the information you're giving them, and it just does not work out. It's so disappointing, but what can you do? I mean, the second best score on his team was actually Thinking Cashew in his Chaffee, and that's because he did more than 1k damage against, I'm presuming, higher tier targets. If you look at the damage count on his team, it by far and away the person that did the most damage was the Object 261, and on the enemy team it's a similar story as the artillery that did the most damage. So on this particular kind of map, you know, it's all about the spotting and who can spot the enemies for artillery to do its work, for tank destroyers to do their work. Both the team's artillery was good, but the rest of the team not good enough, unfortunately. Some of the damage counts for the rest of the team was pretty bad. So yeah, I think I'll give it a go myself, or try to a bit more often, at least look out for situations where I can maybe use my tanks for passive scouting, but it's not really my style of play on the whole. Hopefully though, this video has given you guys and gals some idea of what exactly one should do when passive scouting, and when one should, you know, abandon that post, as it were, and actually start shifting arse and actually doing some damage. It's not an easy thing because it just requires practice. It just requires a bit of experience, basically. You just have to get out there and try it. And I think that's true for the whole game. You just have to get out there and try it and figure out what works and what doesn't. And if it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, that should probably tell you something. So if you liked this video, you can leave a comment, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.